I was really excited to join the McKay team because when I started to teach history at the college level 30 years ago, that was just when social history was getting started. And McKay was, at that point, as a textbook, the only textbook that was available that had anything involving social history, and that's the kind of history that I like, the history of everyday life, of ordinary people. They're not simply acted upon by large forces. They're not simply something that kings and emperors and generals and tyrants control, but they make meaning of the world around them so that they engage in certain kinds of activities. They work, they play, they have sex, they have children, they have families, but they also make meaning. They also make art, they also write songs, they learn to understand the world around them. I used McKay as long as I was teaching Western Civ. And I was able to then come on as an author to try to shape the book the way that I wanted my own students to learn it, and also then that I really wanted other people's students to learn it. I think part of the process of putting the lives of ordinary people into history means you're putting the lives of ordinary people of both genders. So that the different places in the book where I can give voice to women. One of the things we try to help students do throughout the book is to not only read original sources that are written sources, which is very important in terms of understanding and building up their analytical skills, but also to help them to look at visual sources and help them really try to understand what the visual kind of things the visual sources convey. We use a lot of visual sources and provide clues or questions or leading questions or suggestions. What do you think that the artist might have been trying to do in this source? What would have been left out of the source? Why was it made? Who would have used this object? Because the book has a lot of objects in it as well. It's a book that has always really reflected the kind of newest and more up-to-date scholarship, but I think in this particular edition, and now that it's moved to Bedford as well, that's even more prominent. It has always been a history of Western society. It's always been a social history book, and that's not going to change, nor do we as the new authors want it to change. This is the kind of book we like because of that. But because social history itself has changed to now have a much more kind of cultural side to it, that I think that this newest edition has really attempted to integrate cultural history in with the social history in a way that maybe wasn't there as much in earlier editions. There's more discussion about art and architecture and music and literature. Another theme throughout the book is this newer view of Europe as part of an interconnected world. So people moving out from Europe, migration, immigration, people moving into Europe, portraying Europe itself also as less uniform than maybe earlier editions had. In other words, the chapters that I wrote on the Middle Ages have much more about Jews and Muslims. Europe was not a fully Christian society in the Middle Ages. Spain was completely ruled by Muslims, and there were lots of Jews in places, and what did this mean to be Jewish, to be an outsider in that way? So we've tried to make a bigger story of looking at the variety that's in Europe, and a Europe that's more tightly connected at different points with the world beyond. Studying history is important because it can help students come to understand themselves as active agents in the world around them, so that they're not passive, so that they don't feel acted upon by huge forces which do exist, but so that they really feel that they have an ability to shape their world now, and through shaping their world now, they'll then shape the world to come. So to sort of see themselves in the sense of past, present, and future.